witches.
Hello. Welcome back.
We are back to A Court of Silver Flames. Chapter 18 through 24.
Shit gets heavy.
Yeah, it does.
Speaking of heavy, it was hazy yesterday. The smoke from Canada has hit us.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad. Well, okay. I knew it was that bad because I've seen pictures of like northern
Right.
states, but like I honestly did not imagine it would get to us. Like it was like in the like sky above us, I knew, but I didn't think it was gonna like go low. But as I left, I was like, God, it's hazy. Why is it hazy? It's clear skies. And it rained and it made it worse.
Yeah, and it stinks after it rains because
Yeah.
it's like burnt stuff, so it stinks.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah. I didn't
And I
think it would
wonder
make
why I
it to
can't
us.
breathe. Right? And I'm over here. I was driving to the vet the other day and I was on the phone with Will and I like said something and I laughed and I wheezed like real bad. And I was like,
Ugh.
ugh,
Yeah.
I
It's
haven't
been bad
wheezed
this
that bad
summer.
in a while. Yeah. So,
Ugh.
rip.
Yeah. I
Anyways,
know.
chapter
Oh man.
18.
Chapter 18. Okay. Nesta and these fucking stairs.
I like that she's using it as a goal. At
I do
first, it was just
too,
kind
but
of like daunting, but I feel like if I was that determined, I probably would be doing the same thing.
I mean, I get it, and I get that like she's trying to show herself that she's having improvements or whatever. Like that's it feels like that's how she's using it. But also, she gets to step 1000 and her head is roaring and spinning and she's wobbly. How the fuck are you going to get back up those stairs? Because going down the stairs is way easier than going up the stairs. It just throws
Honestly,
me off
though,
every time. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think that happened. I don't think it happened like that. Nope. I don't think so.
I feel like I would request Cassian to like fly me down to the bottom of the stairs or somebody to take me down there, and I'd do that,
Climb back up.
and then I'd climb back down. But
No,
she's
climbing
a
upstairs
stubborn
fucking
old
sucks.
mule.
I hate stairs. Ugh. She is stubborn. Like, super stubborn. But as we're gonna realize through some of these coming chapters, she's starting to do good things for others.
Yeah. I think she starts because in chapter 18 she learns about why Cassian not necessarily is the way that he is, but like I feel like Nesta thinks that everybody there has had a cushioned life. Everybody has had given everything to them, never learned like never had to deal with strife and everything was fine. And I think in chapter 18 she finally learns about Cassian's thing. I don't know if she knows about anybody else's. Obviously she knows or not understands, but in a way understands Amryn as her being like an outcast. But I don't know if she understands how Reese was raised or how Az was raised or even more in the bullshit that she had. But she did see the Court of Nightmares, and so I think she knows. Wait, did she see the Court of Nightmares?
Yeah, she did because she had to go there to find
Oh,
the.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she didn't see the like all of it, but she saw like
Well, and I think she is different from those other people because when that stuff happened to Moore turned to helping the priestesses and making
mhm.
good things happen, and everything that happened to Feyre turned to helping Prithian and saving Prithian. But all this stuff has happened to Nesta, and Nesta wants fucking revenge. She doesn't see that they all did that too. Like Reese had his revenge, Cassian had his revenge, Feyre had her revenge. Like
Yeah.
not as much, but she did. So she doesn't see that. So I think hearing Cassie, I actually commented on that. Like I think hearing Cassian's story is what she needed because they are a lot alike and they both did want that like revenge. They wanted vengeance.
Yeah, cuz like instead of truly revenging their like problems, they helped. They became the hero. And with her feeling that she is nothing but trash and no good for anything or anyone, which is why she's pushing people away, listening to him saying, I slaughtered every single person there. Like anybody who knew my mother, who dealt with my mother, I slaughtered them. I think that really kind of scared her, but knows that, okay, like this is how he copes and this is how he did it.
Yeah. And it's normal to feel that way because she's feeling that way. She wants to go kill the Mortal Queen and like kill all these people, and she's seeing that she's not the only one.
Yeah. But the ending of the chapter really kind of threw me off. I wasn't ready for that. Because it was short. It was only like 2 or 3 pages.
Yeah, it was a pretty short chapter, and they're Nesta told herself it was to knock that smirk off his face that she curled her fingers in the leather and hauled her mouth to his. And then
and so it begins.
And then there was chapter 19.
Listen, every single chapter had some juicy scene, and I'm here for it.
It did. So, they basically
some
make
juicier
out
than others.
like, dry humping each other and
up against a wall, all of that.
Yeah.
I do like the slow burn though. Like not Cassian. Recent Beira's slow burn was fine, but that was a slow burn over a few fucking books.
Right.
And it's like, okay, there's only so much slow burn I can deal with before I'm like annoyed and like ready for it to just happen.
I feel like this tension started in the previous books though, so it was still,
but there wasn't a lot of scenes with both of them, so it wasn't like as annoying because we could deal with it. You're like, oh, cool, yeah, these guys again, yeah.
Right, and then there was this
arguing
with Feyre and Rhys, so like it was not,
because they're with Feyre and Rhys, they were always put in these situations together, and like the tensions were always weird between them when that happened. But like Cassian was always the arrogant person he has always been around Nesta, and Nesta was too. So you didn't actually like, you thought it, but you didn't see it. So it wasn't. It was like friends, enemies to lovers, frenemies.
Yeah,
I love that.
I like it.
I love that shit.
I like these two a lot.
Yeah, let's be real. Rhys and Feyre were never frenemies. They were always like the annoying affair.
Well, yeah, and it was almost like the first ACOTAR, the first book, was definitely a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it was like the whole series kind of was, because then once she got away from Tamlin, at first she was technically a captive of Rhys, and like,
yeah, that's how it started off.
Yeah.
And then she slowly fell for him. So then again, it's like
a Beauty and the Beast. Again.
Yeah, it's not Stockholm syndrome to the like definition, but in a way it is.
Yeah. It's still similar. So I
wonder if that's her favorite princess, because I feel like she has another one like that.
SJM? Mm-hmm. Maybe. It's my favorite princess. It's probably why I like these books.
It's not my favorite princess, but yeah.
I just remembered something that I bought that I'm going to send to you, and I'm excited about it. Anyway.
Okay. Anyways, so yeah, they are making out up against the wall
and groping and grinding
and when we say groping, like she goes for it, like straight up through the pants, goes for it. Not in, but
no, she was over the pants. Yep, finished him off. And then she goes,
and then her fucking remark.
Yes, like
he's just sitting there, like he just literally finished, and she just kills the ego.
Right, and I feel like some of it, because in his face, he, like, there's all these things happening, and he's like, fuck, like, I wanted to do this right. I didn't want it to happen like this. But she interprets his face as like regret and not having wanted to do anything with her. So then she goes straight into bitch mode, which,
Same. That's what I would have done.
right. But I literally wrote, pride will be the death of us all, because, like, it's her pride that's doing that. She's like, oh, he regrets this. Let me be a bitch about it. And I was like, brr.
It's fine. We get it later, but
Oh my god.
it's so funny.
And then Az.
It's great. That was great.
Az comes the next morning. Yeah.
Yeah, because he returned late last night, so he was at breakfast.
Yeah, and he says, "Did something happen that I, as your chaperone, should know about?"
Nope. No, Dad.
Yeah, it's just funny, and Az is there to tell them that they need to go to the river house to talk about what Az discovered. But also, like, they irritate me because, like, these beings are hundreds of years old, and they still haven't learned how to fucking communicate. It drives me nuts. No, just be honest. Like, ugh, I can't even. Nesta makes sense because Nesta is, what, 20-something years old.
Yeah.
So for her to, like, go into bitch mode when she's embarrassed makes sense. She hasn't grown up and learned to communicate yet. And but, like,
But here's the thing. They had hundreds of years to communicate, but he hasn't had hundreds of years to deal with somebody like Nesta.
That's true, I guess. But, like,
But it's funny because he just gets so embarrassed. He's like, why the fuck did I do that? Like, that has never
right.
happened to me. Why? I'm not
Right.
quick off the mark. Like, he gets so upset. And then, but I think it's hilarious because I was like, that was a bitch move, but that's good. That was a good bitch move. I would have done the same. And also, yeah. But after they discuss that they have to go to the river house. What is it? He Az goes, at least you're honest. You and Nesta are wanted down there, and Cassian immediately thinks, oh, it's because of what happened with Elaine, because of the argument between her and Nesta or whatever. And as still what happened to Elaine, and I was like, I'm really sad about that.
Right. I'm like, and then part of me is like, is it possible to have more than one mating bond?
Maybe.
Like if she rejects Lucian, like maybe she's already rejected Lucian, and, like, is it possible to have?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, when I read that, like, just the fact that he stilled when he heard her name, I got real sad. I was like, he's so wrapped around Moore still. Elaine just doesn't want anything to do with anything with, like, Lucian.
All these unavailable males.
Yeah, and I feel like Lucian, I don't know. I don't know much about Lucian, though. I only know from what, like, the manipulated part of, like,
With
the
Tamlin
Tamlin section. And I don't know a lot about Elaine other because, like, there's little spurts where she just, like, surprises. She comes up and does things, and you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that from her. So then I'm sitting here like, maybe they could be perfect, but also I feel like Lucian and Elaine are not perfect together. They are not a perfect pair emotionally. Like, maybe they are mates, but they're not emotionally, kind of like Reese's parents. So I feel like,
yeah.
I really I want to manifest the Az relationship. I want something good for Az. I just want something good for him. He's like,
I agree, but I also feel like it would be really, like, cliche if she had the three brothers fall in love with the three sisters, like, and all live happily ever after.
Well, I mean, it was cliche that she did the Beauty and the Beast retelling. We all knew. Well, I didn't know. With the Reese thing, I was hoping for it from book one. But once book two hit, I was like, yeah,
I know it cracks me up
start it
whenever
up.
I see somebody talking about, oh my gosh, I love Akatar. Like,
Tamlin.
Tamlin's so great. I can't. And then I'm just like, oh.
You poor thing. You're about to go through an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
You ready for the
Oh.
ride?
And then I'm also like, you like Tamlin? Like, I never liked Tamlin.
I like Tamlin a little bit.
I
Okay,
never
that's a
liked
lie.
Tamlin.
I really like Tamlin. I think it's just because like the protector, like
Yeah, I guess
different
I've never
parts,
been that. Like,
and
I'm not into that.
yeah, and I
I take
am,
care of
but
my
I'm
goddamn
also
self.
not. Yeah. See, that's the thing. I think that's why I liked Reese so much more because he was there if she needed assistance and offered the assistance. Tamlin
Yeah.
just jumped right in, which really annoyed me and irked me. But I liked the protector feel of it. I really enjoy knowing that I have like that someone is there to help if I need it. But Tamlin was overbearing and I didn't like that. But
Yeah.
and I don't want to say I have daddy issues because I had a dad. He was great. But like you know how like everyone's got daddy issues
Yeah,
whether
don't
or
we
not
all?
your dad was there and involved. Like y'all have it. Y'all probably have mommy issues too. Like that's fine too.
Generational trauma.
Yeah. And I saw a TikTok the other day that was like, I have daddy issues because my daddy was never there. But you know what? Tell me about your daddy issues, even though your father was around. And
You're like, oh, oh,
I was like,
oh.
oh, you're right though. And then the next one, like that was like linked to that one, was like, we all have daddy issues, whether or not our dad was involved. And I was like, you right though. You
Very
right.
much so.
And it's not anything that they probably could have done differently, but like if they that's all they knew and they didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But I think because I like in therapy, I was going through all of that like parental trauma that I went through. I was reading this book at the same time and I think it
Yeah.
clicked. It clicked for me.
That makes
Terribly
sense.
clicked.
I
But
have
then
always
Reese came
been
around and I was so much better.
I've always been like fiercely independent. Like I it's there's even been some times when I've struggled to like let Britt be there for me or let her do things for me because like I've been so fiercely independent that I think Tamlin's character is my fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Now
And well, and
now
then like
now that I
he
look back.
progressively got worse like as time went on. Like he was definitely abusive and all of that, but like
Yeah, like at first he wasn't bad. He was just
yeah.
another dude kind of thing. But uh
But I also don't like the whole because this happened to me a lot growing up. My this was one of my generational traumas. Was like we didn't tell you that to protect you. We didn't tell you because we didn't want you to be upset. No, don't fucking lie to me to protect me because now that
yeah.
I know, not only am I hurt, I'm fucking pissed. Like,
Yeah. Will
that's
made
always been an
comments.
issue.
Will was like, I always want to be like um truthful with my kids. I want to make sure they understand if something bad happens. I want them to be truthful for it because he's like my parents if they were truthful for their own like not truthful for their own reasons for protection whatever like I get it you want to protect your kid but now like the way he doesn't want his kids to think like well you lied to me now can I trust what you say next
Yeah,
and it's really black and white for those like for kids it's really that black and white and it's gray for adults yes but he doesn't want like a 4-year old telling them that oh the tooth fairy didn't couldn't leave you this when like let's say like you're poor and we like couldn't give you a fucking quarter for your tooth being missing like well now they're all like forever going to think
yeah,
oh shit like you lied to me when I was 4 about this like no so he's like I want to like celebrate holidays but I want to do it in a way where I don't sit there and make do you just bring up bring you a toy.
He did drop the toy and dropped it down my back, and he wants me to throw it.
So I get that. I do.
It was always like grandma's in the hospital and we are gonna go see her because she might not make it. What do you mean she's in the hospital? She's been in the hospital for 3 weeks. What do you mean she's been in the hospital?
And she might not make it.
Like now she might not make it. So now you're gonna tell me what? Like,
yeah.
just stupid shit like that. Like, no. Mm-mm.
Well, and that's that's trauma, and that's gonna suck too. Like later on in life, when like somebody you like care about passes, because that you were never able to like deal with that trauma at like a younger age, like appropriately.
Right.
Man, we get into some deep shit here.
Oh my gosh.
But like that shit really pissed me off. And I had an ex that would do shit like that. Like not tell me the full truth, like say just the bare minimum to like get me to stop asking, but like not tell me, oh well these people were also here and they were flirting with me and I flirted back and I like liked it and now I'm dating them. Sorry. Like for 6 years that bullshit happened. So then after that relationship, I steadily grew to be independent and not be as vulnerable. So sorry, babe. He gets to deal with it now.
Yeah, mine is 100%. I mean, not 100%, but like very, very strongly from my childhood. Like, I was alone all the time because we lived in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was alone quite often. He just brought it to you. He just threw it on the computer. She can't throw it, baby.
So, I'm on my period. I cry at everything. Stop it.
That way. I threw it that way. Look, it's over here. You big dummy. Anyway.
He's so cute.
So on a lighter note, we cleaned last week and we always try to do
all the toys.
Yeah, we always try to do like one deep cleaning thing a month or every other couple weeks or something. And this week or this month it was pulling out the fridge and the stove. Under the stove.
I'm afraid to do that.
Oh my gosh, we pulled out the fridge and the stove into the floor. So Brittany did all of it, of that part, but she pulled out the stove and there were like 20 of those little fuzz balls. So they're all in my office now, and that's why he keeps bringing them to me, because he's like, they're new. They're not.
I haven't seen these in forever.
Yeah.
Oh, poor baby. But yeah.
But he just brought one to Emily. He brought one to the computer, so.
My baby. I just love him so much. He's so cute. Kemper was great, and I love him too, but
he's a crotchety old man now.
Yeah, he is. He didn't like me as much as Chaos did.
And you're the only person that Chaos likes. Chaos doesn't like anybody else.
That's right, bitch. I'm a cat whisperer. Psst, 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 psst.
Anyway.
No, but yeah, I don't know. I just I'm on my period. I'm also off my meds right now, and I haven't been to therapy, so I'm an emotional wreck. Anyways, I think Az and Elaine would be great together. I don't care if the cliche is cliche. I think it's cute. I think Lucian would protect Elaine as best as he could, but I don't think he, other than like being turned away from his family and his friends, I don't think he has ever dealt with the loss and the pain that Az would like has, and would ensure no one ever reaches that state.
Yeah, and like he wouldn't have the same kind of compassion toward her.
Yeah.
Like Lucian has spent so much time with Tamlin where everything is under wraps and everything is quiet and we don't talk about it and we don't handle
I think
our
Az would be fiercely passionate and protective of her, but not overbearing.
Yeah.
I think he would remain in the shadows as she did her thing, and that's her protection right there.
Yeah. I don't know. All right.
Anyways, so we go to the townhouse.
20. Yeah. Lots of awkward sexual tension.
Yeah, because
between
Cassian, of course,
Cassian and Nesta.
yeah, flew her there. And the
And
last
they're
time they were
both
that
like
close.
that was a very funnily timed cough.
I know. I felt it in the throat as I was saying it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna
It
leave
was
it at that.
appropriate. It kind of worked. But yeah, so they're going to the townhouse, and um, every time we see Feyre and Rhys, they make a point to talk about him having a shield on her.
I know. I know. I was sat here, I was like, what the fuck
Yeah,
is that?
I
I
literally
think
was
I
like,
know.
sounds like maybe Rhys needs some therapy too. I did not know. Like, once it happened, I was like, oh my God. Which I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I did not understand. And I was like, it sounds like Rhys needs some therapy too. He's being a little overprotective. Like, he's not usually like this. What the fuck is happening? And that's what I wrote. And so it's funny here in a minute when we get to that part. But
I
I
know.
was
I
like,
was honestly, when I was reading this chapter, I was kind of getting pissed. I was like, okay, Tamlin, like, calm
right.
down. Like, what the
Like, chill
fuck?
out. Back off. Like,
And she's just like, yeah, it's fine. It's like, it was fine for Tamlin too. And this is what happened. It's like, do we need
yeah,
another intervention? Like, what the fuck?
what is going on here?
I was getting so mad. And I was like, I get it. Shit is still like tense and there's still bullshit around. But like, what the fuck?
But
And I
she's
was
probably
like, you're
stronger than you, Reese. Like,
honestly,
she's got
I
more
was,
powers than you do. She could probably take care of herself. Fuck off, bro.
yeah, I was, okay. So we were on our way back from Tennessee when I was reading this and I was getting so heated in the car. I was like,
That's
anyways,
awesome.
it's so
Yeah.
bad.
I, oh, okay. And then they start talking about um how Az has been watching, what is it, Brialyn, the queen, the crone queen, who is like plotting against them, um and she's gathering army. She's got an alliance with Baron. She is, and somehow allying with um Koshi, which is the Death Lord that is
The
trapped at
bone
the lake.
carver's brother.
Yeah, and that's where where Vasa was trapped as well.
Has it been a year since the fight with Hybrid?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because based on the timeline, I thought Vasa was only able to stay
Well,
away for like a few months, if
maybe
that.
it's something like Briaxis where like she just never went back and he hasn't forced her back.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
I hope we get another Briaxis moment.
I do too. I really like that character.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I want it. The thing in Nightmares. That's I want him.
I want him back.
I want a little plushie of him, and just so I can go, oh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, and then they start talking about the Dread Trove. And Nesta says, "What's the Dread Trove?" And I was like, exactly my question. I said, "The fuck is the Dread Trove? Some fucking skeletons or some shit? Like, what is happening? Like a zombie army?"
What is it?
And then they explain that it is 3 objects of power that the cauldron created. It's a mask, a harp, and a crown. And at first, I was like, oh, so Nesta is going to have to wield these objects. Like, she's going to become a death god herself by wielding these objects. I think she already is a death god, but that's just my own opinion.
And I think that's only because she took things from the
right.
cauldron.
But then I was like, or is it 3 objects for 3 sisters? Right.
Maybe.
So I don't know, but I like that idea.
It's a smutty book for Nesta.
Oh my gosh. So the mask raises the dead.
Ooh, I bet you. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let's talk about this. So now that we know what it is, it's the mask, the harp, and the crown. The crown
Yes.
is Feyre's. The harp is Elaine's, and the
Illyrian.
mask is Nesta's
Nesta's.
because
I
she wears a
agree.
mask all the fucking time.
Yes.
And
And
the
it
harp
raises
is
the
like this
dead,
nice
like,
little sweet melody.
yes.
And she's the high lady. I about said high priestess. I was like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah. So Nesta can raise, or not Nesta,
Oh.
the mask can raise the dead and like create an army basically. The harp can open any door, physical or otherwise, even like between worlds maybe. And the crown can
Alright.
influence anyone, even piercing through the mightiest of mental shields. So,
And I think the crown would be great for Feyre just because one, she already does mental shield stuff, and she is very fucking manipulative.
yeah. And I think that like Nesta couldn't wield the crown because Nesta's too cruel.
She's a bitch.
Elaine isn't cruel enough. Feyre is just, so she could wield the crown appropriately. Anyway, that's my theory. Um,
I love it.
and then on page 226, someone just point blank, I think it was Amryn. No, it's Feyre. Just point blank asks Nesta what happened in the cauldron. And I feel like that's the first time that someone has just spoken to her like she's an equal being and
Mm-hmm.
asked her what happened. Um, and finally she talks about it a little bit. Um,
And I like that Cassian's like taking it easy with her because she is volatile,
yeah,
and it's taken this long just to even get her to attend and do things as a functioning member of the court, because technically she is part of the court. She is like the human
yeah,
ambassador. And he's like, we could discuss it later, like you don't have to talk about it now. Like he is letting her talk about her trauma in a way that suits her and not everybody else, and I find that very sweet of him.
yeah. Ooh, I just thought of another really good like theory kind of thing.
Hmm.
What if someone like they don't get to the dread trove in time and they're all three evenly matched against the trove? Like Feyre can fight against mental things and she has a really strong mental shield,
And if she's protected by a strong shield,
and then Nesta, there have been many times it's been alluded to that Nesta is a Death Lord herself. So like they can raise armies of the dead, but she
maybe
can
they don't
control
need it.
them. Right. And then Elaine is a seer, so I don't know, maybe that somehow has something to do with
What was the harp?
the opens any
Oh,
door.
opens up door pathways.
Yeah. I don't know. I just that's just a theory. Just popped into my head. Anyway.
My
Then okay,
headphones just went out.
Cassian, huh?
My headphones just went out. Hold on.
Not again.
I spent so much money on these things. It's been since COVID. So like it's probably due. Because I think I got these. We were shut down and I got these so that I could like play games. Um but like talk to people on like PS4.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I literally had to turn it off, turn it back on. It could also be connecting to like Discord, which I am active on. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fair. Who
Anyways,
knows?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Fuck it. I don't care. Anyways.
I was cracking up because they're like talking about, oh, we have the risk them going after this, and we can't tell the other High Lords because then we'll risk them going after it, and blah blah blah. And Cassian's like, okay, so we find it. Any ideas? Like, just so matter of fact, like, okay, we have to find it. Let's find it. Like, oh, okay, Cassian. Let's just, like, it's just that easy. Anyway, and then Elaine's like, I'll track it.
I got you. It's fine.
Yeah.
Let me just go put my gardening gloves up and I'll come be.
Right, which I feel like was kind of manipulative of her because, like, I feel like she knew. Well, not that I don't think she was willing to do it, but I also do think that she was like, if I say that I'll do it, then
maybe
Nesta will get her shit together and do it. And I think it'll be good for Nesta to have a project because I feel like
this is something she could work towards and this will help her training.
Yeah. And it'll keep her mind off of other things. I don't know. But then immediately in chapter 21, because now we're in chapter 21, Nesta's like, no. And I was proud of Elaine because she was like, you do not decide what I can and cannot do, Nesta. And I'm like, fuck yeah, like, you're not her boss, Nesta, and she's not as fragile as she once was. In fact, you're the fragile sister now, bitch. Like, get your shit together.
Yes! Yes. Here's something else, too. Okay, so you know how they have to find it. I want to know if it's, like, near, like, the middle of Prithian. Or if it's in the spring court. Heidi ho, let's go.
Ooh.
But another adventure starts.
Yes. And like, I don't know. Nesta's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then she like,
I'm just surprised Nesta didn't offer it first. Because there's been times where she's been that sister where she just sits there and she goes, I should have done it first. Like, why didn't I do it first? And she's always thinking about it and thinking about all the times she could have done better by both of her sisters if she could just have done it correctly the first time. And I know she's like afraid of like failure, but I'm just really surprised she didn't like just come up and say it first.
Yeah, but it's like she's scared of it.
Yeah.
But then like they kind of are arguing back and forth. Like Feyre's like, it's Elaine's choice, and Nesta's like, keep out of this. I have no doubt you put these thoughts in her head, probably encouraging herself. And then Elaine's like, hello, I'm right fucking here.
I'm not a child to be fought over. Okay, Jasmine.
And then she's like, do you not remember the cauldron taking you? And she's like, I do, and I remember Feyre rescuing me.
I think that hurt Nesta right there too.
Yeah. So then, like any wounded animal does, Nesta lashes out and says, look who decided to grow claws after all. Maybe you'll become interesting at last, Elaine. Like, fuck you, Nesta.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to be that much of a bitch. I get it. You're pissed off, but
yeah, so much happens in this one single chapter. Because right after that, literally the next page,
oh yeah, because Nesta turns her anger towards Feyre. It's like, why don't you do it? You've done it all these years.
You do it? You're made too. Why can't you find it?
She's like, I can't risk it. Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm pregnant.
Yeah, and then we find out that that's why Rhys has her shielded all the time, because they continue. Because I literally wrote that. I was like, oh shit, that's why he's been shielding her.
I know. I like knew that she was gonna get pregnant, but I wasn't expecting it right then and there. I should have known.
I honestly, just because SJM seems to really like to like rake our hearts through the coals, expected her to struggle to get pregnant. Like,
yeah, because they say how it's not necessarily difficult, but it's rare
Yeah.
to have like a child that fast. And it's like, damn, how often are you guys having sex for that to happen?
Right. Well, I mean, I think we've
Uh-huh.
learned that it's quite often.
Quite a bit.
But but
All
still,
night,
like,
every other night.
yeah, I can't even. I just
Yeah.
can't even.
But
They're all hot
and it's
mess.
just kind of like everything turned like stop because it's a heated confrontation right
Yeah.
now. And then she goes, I'm pregnant, and then everyone just kind of stops. And uh what is it? Cassian just looks at Reese, like screams for joy basically, and then just attacks him
Yeah.
because he's so excited. And then Amron's like, congratulations, girl. Although I know Amron doesn't really have her powers anymore, but I could have sworn she would have figured it out.
Right. Well, Elaine did.
I know.
Elaine guessed, which of course she did. Um.
That's partially why she went for it first.
Right, because she knew Feyre couldn't do it. Um.
And as soon as Reese dropped the shield, Feyre's scent came through the room, but it was unusual.
Yeah.
Something new. No
Yeah.
wonder you've been a moody bastard, Reese.
Yeah.
I suppose we're about to learn a whole new level of overprotective. Don't you fucking do it, Tamlin. Don't you fucking do it.
Right. And
Oh.
it's all these things.
Yeah.
She can't use all of her powers because they're not sure how it'll impact the baby. And she's like, it's a pain in the ass. And then finally, they're like, you could scry again. And Amber's like, are you afraid? And she's like, what choice do I have? And Reese is like, you always have a choice here. And because she is who she is, Nesta is very self-sacrificing. And she's like, of course I'll search for it, because she always makes the, and this is big air quotes, right choice when it's for someone else, but not for herself.
Yeah.
And then, so I didn't write this down, but they start talking about how it's a boy because the bone carver showed her that her child was going to be a boy. I don't think it's going to be a boy. I
What
feel
if
like
it's
that's
a
going to be a
girl?
twist. Right, well, because the bone carver never said that that was their firstborn.
True.
Like, he never said that. So, like, how do
I
we
think
know
it's
they're not
going to
going to
be a
have
boy.
more than one? And the first
But
one's
I
not going to be a boy.
also want my first child to be a boy, so
Fair.
I'm a
I don't
little
know.
I'm a little biased on that.
And then um oh, Feyre tells Nesta that it's going to be a boy, and Nesta's like, why wouldn't you tell Elaine first? She found out that you were um pregnant first, and she was like, she discovered the pregnancy. I wanted you to know this part before anybody else. And Nesta's like, I didn't realize you were keeping score. And like, come on, Nesta. Like, she's reaching out. She's trying to. I literally
She's
wrote,
trying to
she's
make
reaching out her
amends.
hand, Nesta, don't bite it.
Just like you had people reaching out her hand and you ultimately didn't bite it, and now you're trying to do that for the priestesses. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just
Little shithead.
let her try to be nice to you. And then it's chapter 22.
Before you know it, we're flying.
Yeah, well, and like, okay, they keep talking about how it was Elaine's trauma. They can't, like, they all think about because this happened at the end of the last chapter as well. They were like, it happened to me. Elaine was like, it happened to me, not you, and you only think about what happened to me in order of how it affected you. And I'm like, yes, but isn't, I mean, that's kind of how humans, well, I mean, I know they're not human, I guess, but like, that's how life works. Like, they're worried about you, and that's how your trauma affected them. So what? Like, I don't know. It just didn't seem fair. Like, Nesta's allowed to have feelings too. Fair's allowed to have feelings too. Cassian's allowed to have feelings too. Like,
Everyone can have feelings.
yeah. But then Cassian kind of fights for Nesta on 240. Because they're like, where's it at? Oh, she wants
It's
to
down.
try her own way first. And he's like, let her try it her own way. If we go in and order her to scry, then it'll backfire. Let her exhaust her other options before she realizes only one is available. Because Asriel's like, we need to just tell her that she needs to do this.
Yeah.
But because her and Cassian are so much alike, Cassian's like, if you go in there and tell her that she has to do it this way, she's going to rebel against that even more and refuse to do it. Like,
And then we'll be screwed. And then we're all gonna
right.
die. So shut up, bro.
Right. And then on page 241, Cassian is thinking about how Az has kind of stopped being quite so
moody. Not moody. I shouldn't say that.
Like a puppy dog around more.
Like yeah, it's
he's not so
less
like,
and less.
Yeah. And he's like, I wonder why. I wonder what happened to change that. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe a certain Archeron sister.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Right? Like,
Ooh.
I think maybe
I feel
maybe
the drama.
Yeah.
The juicy details are coming, and I'm so excited. I thought that was mine. I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
That was mine. It's laying on the table, so that was the problem. But anyway,
I thought mine was too. I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't write anything else until page 245.
I wrote a little bit before then. So I really like that we kind of see like this little personal side to Az and Cass, because they start saying like, do you want a kid? And it's like, do you?
Yeah.
Come on, Cass, do you want a kid? Like, I want to know, do you want a kid? And then he starts, at this point, he's kind of like, I don't know, do I want a kid? And then he kind of started thinking about Nesta, and I was like, you want a kid with Nesta?
Okay, well, and
as
he's making comments. Wait, I didn't write one down. Ugh, I don't think I wrote it down anywhere. But like, they keep making comments like, he keeps pushing it down, but he knows it's there and stuff like that. And I'm like, is there a mating bond? And Cassian
I wondered.
just hasn't. Yeah.
Neither. I wonder if there's a mating bond and neither one of them have realized it yet, or it hasn't like
clicked
into place.
Yeah.
And it might be because of the cauldron. Like maybe she's not coming to terms with her powers or like with what she is, or like noticing all of that, so it hasn't been able to click.
Right. I don't know.
But it's great. So they do this like sweet little, do you want a kid? And then he starts thinking about Nesta and what happened in between them and the comment that she did, and he's like he's like, he's getting worked up, and he's literally in the middle of a conversation with Az, and he's like, Cassian, hello. And he goes, of course I'd want children. And then all of a sudden he's just like continued to think about her, because he's like, man, no female has ever come along who tempted him enough to fight for the future. And so I think he's starting to think like possibly this Nesta is my future, or what he's hoping for. And so then he was always holding, he even comments like he was always, not comments, thinks that he's always holding out for the mating bond. He'd seen what Feyre and Rhys had, and he really wants that. Although I think he's also semi afraid for having a partner like Rhys's parents.
Yeah.
Having that mating bond, but not necessarily like meant
Liking
to be
each other.
together. Yeah. Yeah. So he is swirling with all of these thoughts, and he stands up and he looks at Az and goes, "Turn a blind eye, chaperone," and then he walks out the door to Nesta's room.
Yep. And then there's one thing where they kind of like banter back and forth about, she's like, male pride is a thing of wonder. Why are you here? You made it clear clear enough last night that this was a mistake. And he said, I never said that. And back and forth, back and forth. And then she says, this stays out of training and everything else. This is just sex. And he says, just sex. And I'm like, of course it's not just sex.
Don't you say that. Neither one of you. You two fucking liars.
Duh. And then the only other thing I wrote for the entire chapter was cough. I put an asterisk and I put cough.
I commented, I did not picture Nesta having long hair. I don't know why. Maybe because it's always pinned up and it looks so nice and regal. When I think super long hair, I just think it's bulky on the head. Like when it's put up. I mean, if you braid it, yeah, it's not going to be as bulky. But so when she like moved her head and her long hair like was hitting her waist, I was like, what? I was thinking like shoulder length hair or something like that.
Yeah, I guess I was too.
I feel like she's got longer hair than Feyre.
Yeah.
But Feyre, not that I think she likes it long, but I think she keeps it on the shorter end of long so that it can stay out of her face if she needs it. But I think she's so used to being like the prim and proper, like socialite
lady, yeah,
that you have to have that long hair. So that's probably okay. Anyways, and the last comment I said was, well, now they're even.
Right? There are like 1, 2, 3 pages.
The rest of the chapter.
Yeah, it's like 5 pages of just very descriptive
oral sex.
Yep. Yes.
One way oral sex. Yep. Although I gotta admit, I really like his exit because like just like her, he's like, now we're even.
Yeah.
He grabs his shit and walks towards the door. He's like, I'm gonna fuck this up if I don't leave now.
Right. Oh my god.
And he did.
He did. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then chapter 23.
That was the end of it.
Yeah. They go training the next morning. And are still thinking about each other because,
it was a religious experience for Cass.
Yep. And then Az walks into the training ring behind Nesta.
And he smirks.
Yeah.
He's like, I think I'm gonna go to training today.
Yeah. It just hilarious.
It's like, oh, are you Az? Just to see that tension, I would totally do it. I'd be like,
right? I was like, what is he doing? But yeah, it's kind of funny.
You're like, oh, I get it.
Well, and then on page 252, they're talking about Az and his shadows. Like, it says a shadow curled around Asriel's neck, the only one brave enough to face the sunlight. And like she describes his shadows so vividly, and I see them in my head when I'm like reading. And if they fuck it up in the show, I'm gonna be so mad.
They're gonna fuck it up. It
It
doesn't matter. Everybody who's like, oh, SJM's working on the show. It doesn't matter. Other authors have worked on their shows and they still fuck it up.
Right. They're gonna fuck it up, and I don't like it.
They had an animation to go off of Avatar: The Last Airbender for a movie, and they fucked it up.
Yeah, I didn't watch
They had a fucking entire season, like 3 seasons, to be like, okay, this is how water should flow. This should be this. This is how they move. Not movement, a pause, and then water fling by. Like, they fucked that up. No, they're gonna fuck it up.
Yeah, they're
They
gonna fuck it up.
will
But like,
forever and always fuck it up.
I know Brittany
Vampire
actually laughed at me the other
Academy.
day because there was we went to the movies and finally saw The Little Mermaid.
Was it good?
It was good.
Okay.
Anyway, it was good. But there was a movie poster for Ballad of Songbird and Snakes. That's what that's called, right? Yeah,
I think so.
The new
Hunger
like
Games.
spin-off from Hunger Games, or prequel, I guess, to Hunger Games. And I was like,
first,
oh,
it's like the first one, right?
yeah, it's like President Snow's backstory.
Oh,
yeah, President Snow is the main character. But it was really good book, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see that. The book was so good, and Brittany was like, you're going to be so disappointed in that movie because you always say that. Like, I read the book, the movie's going to be good, and then you're disappointed in the movie. And I'm like, you're right. But I will say that as far as like book adaptations to movies, The Hunger Games were the most well done ones that I can think of. So we'll see.
Possibly, yeah. Vampire Academy, Twilight,
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter was good. I haven't read the books though, so I don't like to list that because I haven't read the books.
So much more happens in the books. The books are so much better.
And then what other movies? Avatar: The Last Airbender, like I said, they're gonna fuck this one up.
I will say that Shadow and Bone is not awful. Cursed was really bad. I couldn't even finish watching the movie or the series on Netflix.
Was that the one with like Hannah Baker, the actress for Hannah Baker?
Yep. I couldn't even finish watching the series. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also in the book, pretty sure that character is black. So, I mean, they never explicitly say it, but Cursed. Yeah. Like the character that Catherine Langford plays, pretty sure in the book that character is black. But, I mean, whatever. They never explicitly say it, but like it's heavily implied in the drawings and
kind of like how Hermione was heavily implied.
Yeah.
As possibly being black with like the hair and the structure.
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, you know, whatever.
What are you gonna do? I do think Emma Watson, I don't know why I blanked on her last name, did a really good job. I think they did like the characters did a great job of like
they did. There was just a lot left out. I will say that they all portrayed their characters very well, but like the directors or the writers, I don't know which one you want to blame it on.
Probably the directors
left out a lot. Like,
and well, both. Let's do both.
Both Ron and Ginny's characters, like, well, and Neville and Luna too. Like, there's so much more character building. Like, there's so much more to those characters.
I will admit, when I watched the last like 3 movies of Harry Potter, I got really confused with like Neville Longbottom's change. I was like, what happened to him that made him want to do this? Like, not going to secret dueling battle things at night, like changed his whole demeanor.
Yeah,
there's and something that led up to
way
that.
More into that, like if they talk about the DA and how the DA gave him so much more confidence, and then he goes to the Ministry in Order of Phoenix with Harry, and his grandma finally says she's proud of him after that experience. Like, there's so much that you miss out on.
And it's just it was really confusing when he like killed Nagini. I was like, why are we having this like focus moment on Neville? Like, nobody else had a focus moment
in the book too. But there's a lot.
But it would make more sense if I had that backstory, though.
Yeah, it would.
I probably wouldn't have liked it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But whatever. Anyways. Um so they're learning hand-to-hand fighting. Well, she's learning hand-to-hand fighting. But she went Stop it. Stop it. You're gonna lose your mind here in a second when I go through what I wrote. Because
Go ahead.
Because it's like a progression of emotions where it's like, oh yeah, I get this. Oh, you're gonna fucking lose it. Because I wasn't expecting the last part of this like thing. So when I was saying it, I was like, oh yeah, like I really finished a sentence, wrote down my thought, and then continued thinking, and you could tell. Um, so they are sparring hand-to-hand combat, and she's like, I want to see you guys do it first. Demonstration, I get it, whatever. So I was like, you know what, I would probably enjoy like learning this style of fighting. I really liked kickboxing when I took classes, and I honestly felt pretty like, I wouldn't say strong, but I felt like confident that I could protect myself if I need to. And so I was like, you know what? I probably would really, really enjoy like hand to hand combat, like style fighting, exercise, whatever. I'd probably really enjoy that. Um, and so she asks them to do it, and it's like a dance, like the way she describes it. It's like a dance. They're like movement this way, like blocking here, like juking there, kind of thing. And then she and Cassian's using it as like a way to get that sexual tension off of him before he starts fighting with Nesta, or it's just going to happen right outside. And so as they're fighting, Cass is like, okay, next hit wins, and Az is like, bullshit, like we're going to the ground, this is how we win. And he uses a tactic that Cassian used on him. He as so in the beginning of the fight, Cass looked kind of glanced over to Nesta, and Az thought he got him, and then like Cass blocked because he knew that was going to happen. Az looked at Nesta with horror and surprise, with eyes wide open, and like Cassian thought shit was happening, and he turned to look, and right at that moment he got fucking punched in the face. And as all of this was happening, he he turned, they like stopped and they looked over at Nesta, and they see like a little pink tinge across her face, even though she wasn't moving. And Cass looks at her, goes, "You're drooling," and he goes, if there was anything enticing, it was seeing Azrael punch your face. And then he goes, "Keep telling yourself, Ness." And I wrote, I'm more, the more I read this, I feel like I'm more like Nesta, because I would definitely like that's how I flirt. Like some shit happens to Will, and Will like says something suave to me, and I just sit there and I say shit like that. Like I'm that shit talker. That's how I flirt. So then the next page, next section. Next section. I feel like I have to explain this because like my thought process, if I don't explain the thought process, then you're not gonna like get the like sheer horror that I was like that I experienced. So so she asked Gwen, she's like, "Hey Gwen, about the dread trove, like can we talk about that? Do you know anything about that?" And she's still sweaty from like that morning's practice, because that was that morning. And she starts singing, she goes, "Man, seeing them spar had been overwhelming. Their beautiful forms, tattooed, scar and carved with muscle, gleaming with sweat as they fought with a vicious intelligence she'd never seen. She had been sweating themselves when herself when they'd finished, and wondering what it'd be like to between to be in between those two male bodies, letting them turn all the lethal attention on worshiping her." And then she's like, man, Elaine would faint to hear such thoughts, and to hear that Nesta had already had 2 meals in her bed, not once but twice, and had enjoyed every second of it. But the males Nesta had shared herself with hadn't looked like Cassian as, hadn't been Cassian as. Nesta had made herself focused during the lesson, but as soon as she'd left the training ring, filthy thoughts had poured in, leaving her half distracted while she walked down to the library. The thought of Cassian pumping into her mouth while Az pounded her from behind, the two of them working her in tandem, and I was like, oh. I was like, okay. Now I was like, now I regret saying either one of the previous 2 comments. I was like, okay. I'm just like Nesta. Next page. Oh. Accurate description of what I did. I was like, oh yeah, I'm just like her. Well,
oh my
okay
God.
then.
I was cracking up. And then because this is what my brain does all the time. So, do you know in tandem does not mean at the same time? It means one after the other. So, like, I used to use the phrase in tandem all the time, meaning at the same time. And Brittany would correct me all the time. And so now that's what I thought of when I read that sentence. And I was like, oh, that's not what that means. I mean, I guess it could be. Like, maybe it was one after the other. But.
Well, she described it. She's like.
As at the same time.
Yeah. Pumping into the mouth as is from behind. Like,
yeah.
That's at the same time.
I was like, that's not what that means.
We're going to look this up. We're going to say in tandem meaning. When things or people are in tandem, they're together, either physically, side by side, happening at the same time, or working as a cohesive team.
Be interesting for Brittany to listen to this then. Because I stopped using that phrase.
Brittany.
Brittany. She doesn't watch the YouTube.
Oh, well, fuck you, Brittany. 2 fiddle fingers up, middle fingers up. Let me tell you my source. Hold on before I continue saying that. That's vocabulary.com says that. Cambridge Dictionary also says that. Merriam-Webster also says that. It's called a tandem bike. You do it at the same time.
Well, according to whatever she read, it was a tandem bike.
I went to see the sources.
After the other. I don't know. I never saw the sources.
I want to see the sources. I want to see them.
But in any event, it made me laugh.
Whatever. But anyways, so she tries convincing Gwen to come sign up, and she's like, but look, I'm getting muscular thighs. And she's like, why would Priestess need muscular thighs? And she's like, protection.
Yeah. She's like pushing, and I was like, careful, Des, like, don't push her too far, because like
she's your only friend.
Right. And if you push her too hard, she's gonna like really say no.
Yeah.
But okay, I don't have a lot for chapter 24, and we are over on time, so let's throw this together real quick.
Oh yeah, I just got one comment.
I wrote a couple different things, but basically Cassian gets called to the library by Clotho because Nesta keeps practicing in the library, and Clotho's asked her not to, and she's like, what the fuck? So Nesta doesn't stop. And I think Clotho is smarter than I think she knows what Nesta's doing.
Well, she got sad when Nesta looked at the...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's not yet. Sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think she knows. So she calls Cassian down there. Cassian's like, she's practicing in the library? Like, what? So, she's like, I need you to put a stop to this. So Cassian goes down into the library. And Nesta keeps dropping her elbow while she's punching, which is not correct.
And it's funny, too, because he made a comment. He's like, you literally had a perfect punch today.
Right, like, what are you doing? So he basically trains her how to do it right. Again. And basically, this is all what she wanted. And I think Clotho knew it. She wanted the other priestesses to see him training her. Because when Cassian turns around to leave, all the other priestesses are like peeking around corners and over balconies, like looking, like watching. And I think Clotho knew that's what Nesta was trying to do. Clotho's not stupid. And then like the end of that day, there's still no names on the sign-up sheet, and Nesta's all upset. And then she climbs down the stairs again, gets to stair 900, turns around, goes back up. And then the next afternoon, she goes to the library, and Clotho stops her. She was going to just walk right by Clotho because she didn't want to admit her defeat. But Clotho stops her and points to the sign-up sheet. And there is finally a name in bold letters.
And she was buzzing with excitement when she pointed, too.
Yeah, Clotho was excited. And the name is Gwen. Which was not surprising at all. I knew it was going to be Gwen. But yeah, yay!
Yeah.
And that's the end of part 1. So the next, we stopped there because the next part would go to part 2.
Yeah, and I like that it's named Blade because she literally just got done basically reading a book, or almost done reading a book called The Art of Battle or something, The Dance of Battle.
Yeah, from Cassian.
And I'm like, I know. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, what is it? So yeah.
So that is chapter 18 through 24 of A Court of Silver Flames.
Look how far we're getting to.
I know.
We've learned to shut up when we needed to and work on it when we needed to.
Yes. So, all right. That's all for today.
Until next time.
Bye!